Hi there, welcome to Cocktail Mode, the podcast where me, Andy and my good mate Dave pick a retro game and try and pair it with a cocktail. This time we thought we'd take advantage of the interest in the Aliens and Predator franchises at a minute and have a look at the classic brawler by Capcom, Aliens vs Predator, released exclusively for the arcades in 1994. Alien vs Predator, the game, we discovered in, I think, the Trocadero Centre.
Yep.
And it felt like this was a secret that we had unearthed.
It's the literal definition of the word hidden gem.
Yeah.
If you said to anybody in, 2004, I want to say, when we went down to London for that, probably went to see a film or something.
Yeah.
And we found it and we were playing it like, how has no one ever said about this game before?
Yeah.
It was literally unknown.
Two of the biggest franchises around in a game, in a brilliant game, a beautiful looking game. And yet it was just like, it genuinely, like, almost shocking that nobody had ever mentioned this before, that this thing existed and was out in the world, but it wasn't, there was no Mega Drive version of it, there was no SNES version of it, there's no Amiga version of it. And it turned out eventually nothing version of it.
And still not.
No. The only official thing that Alien vs Predator has existed on other than an arcade cabinet is the Capcom, I can't remember what it's actually called now. Capcom Home Arcade, it's called.
Yeah.
But so it's basically a massive joystick in the shape of the Capcom logo. It is as crass a thing as you could ever imagine. It is not. It was not designed with subtlety in mind. And then I put an offer on one on eBay just before we started recording.
You sound like a guilty addict.
I mean, honestly, on the button.
But that's literally 30 years since it came out.
Yeah. I mean, shocked is a strong word, but it's just like, how does this thing exist? This beautiful looking game, and it looks stunning to this day.
Yeah.
It exists, and we just found it, one pokey little two-player, because it's originally a three-player cabinet, and we found the two-player cabinet in the Trocadero Centre, the aging, like, dying on its arse Trocadero Centre. When you had to literally walk like 10 minutes from one cabinet to the next. But we found this fantastic game and it's stuck in my mind ever since. It's particularly, I think, weirdly, in the fact you play as one of two cyborgs or one of two predators. But I think its rendering of the aliens is among the best there has ever been. The predators, as much as they are, there's two of them, and actually, there's three in the game because there is it's the Mad Predator. It's one of the bosses.
Yes, yeah.
But all three of them actually look very, very similar, whereas there is several variations of the alien, and they all look pretty good. But I think the difference, even to that, the Aliens arcade game, where they're flying and they're very, very weird. They kind of make sense. The variations of except maybe the rolling one, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but there's. They do genuinely look like just slightly different. The way you look in the sky, there's variations of bird, there's variations of dog. And they look like that rather than weird flying odd things. In this game, they look like evolution of the concept most of the time.
There is a subplot in there as well that Weyland-Yutani are experimenting on them, which has always been a very easy get out. Any comic that features an interesting or different variation of the alien, all you've got to do is just say, well, yeah, we're genetically engineering them now.
Yeah.
That's all you've got to do. I mean, it's lazy. I fucking hate it. The thing that I always come back to it every time this conversation comes up, I always reference the same thing, and it's the line in Alien when Ripley says to Ash, "You admire it." And he says, "I admire its purity." And every time they fuck around with it and change it, they're taking away that purity.
You just reminded me of, there's a line again, and it's in the early part of the comic book, the Alien vs Predator comic book, where one of the characters describes it as a preambulatory penis, which is brilliant. This is you talk about, comics being Superman, Batman, basically macho bullshit. And they basically boiled down this terrifying thing to, a cock on legs, which is what it is. That's what it does. That's
what the face
point.
hugger is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's terrifying, like, crab thing. Oh, here, no, it's a preambulatory penis. And you just go, shit, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, the game we're here to talk about, Alien vs. Predator, Capcom, 1994.
Yep.
What's your main takeaway from it? When you think of it, what do you think of?
I think it's the best brawler ever made.
Wow.
I genuinely do. I think there is more going on in that game than any other game of that style. So it's got a good plot, it's got amazing graphics, it's got fantastic sound and music.
Stunning, yeah.
It expands on an IP that already exists in a really, really good way, not a really, really bad way, like some films we could mention. But also as well, there's an element to that game that makes it much, much more enjoyable than something like Final Fight or Double Dragon. So Double Dragon, I have to give a lot of leeway. It's the first example of that kind of game. It's brutal as fuck. And I can vouch for this because I played it this week. There's a retro game shop in Leicester called the Super Game Shack, which was opened up by Rich Tewksbury, the guy who did the retroactive events that we went to.
Yeah.
Which is fucking brilliant. Really, really good. But they've got a second place upstairs, which is like half of the whole floor. And they've got arcade cabinets in there. It's a sort of a cafe. You can sit and have a coffee and a cake and whatever. And they've got some arcade cabinets set up. And I played Double Dragon in there for the first time in God knows how many years. Jesus Christ, that's rough and hard. It's not an easy game. It's not a game that wants you to play it. So I've always seen the Alien vs. Predator game as the best example of that genre because I know where it came from. I know how that genre starts. But Aliens vs. Predator feels like its own thing because of the maneuverability you've got. And this is one of the things that has always been the sticking point for me in this kind of game is that you seem to be so slow. We talked about it in Golden Axe.
Yeah.
Your speed of movement is so slow, it's painful. But in Alien vs. Predator, you can jump around the screen. Certainly as the Predators. I'm not too sure about the humans because I never play as them. But you can jump from one side of the screen to the other and do a kick move as you're doing it really, really easily. And the game is full of pickups and power-ups like pulse rifles and smart guns and grenades and shit. There's always something you can do. It feels fairer than any other example of this kind of game.
And I have to say, seeing a Predator use a pulse rifle is one of my favourite things ever. It's so brilliantly done.
Yeah, I love it.
I must have mentioned this before. If I haven't, it's a miracle. But I gravitate towards female characters in games. So obviously I picked up and played Lynn Kurosawa, I think her name is, the female character in this game. So there's two Predators. There's a Predator Hunter, there's a Predator Warrior. The Predator Warrior, the bigger of the two Predator characters, is the slowest character in the game, and yet, as Dave said, he feels as quick as Guy from Final Fight. So when you play as Lynn, weirdly, I very much gravitated towards using her gun, and I think to sort of come back to the fundamentals of this game, as much as it's a beat 'em up, every character has got a ranged weapon as well.
Yeah,
and the balance of those two things, I think, makes it a very interesting game. You can play it through. You can beat this game in an hour. You play it through. I played it through. There were apparently 8 difficulty settings, because it's an arcade game. You have to go into the dip switches, virtual or otherwise, to change them. So I've got no idea what setting I played it on. I played it on RetroArch via MAME and played it through with Lynn Kurosawa from start to finish. And absolutely loved it. But it felt more like something like Guardian Heroes, more like a ranged combat, almost like a shoot-'em-up game, something like Contra, the way I played it with that character. And yet, if I were to go back and play through it as the Predator Warrior, it would feel much more like a Final Fight game, because the ranged combat from that character isn't as good and it's as harder to do. And I think that's the brilliance of the game, is that through each of the 4 characters, you play it. You would need to play it 4 times to really, it would feel like a different game every time. I think with the female character Linker Sarah, it feels very contra-ish, very much like shoot 'em up, certainly the way I played it. And the payoff is you shoot your sidearm a lot, but you have to reload it. The reload takes about half a second. It's really no payoff at all, so it just feels like a shoot 'em up. Brilliantly, the Predator warrior uses the flying disc thing that he has in the film, the bladed disc, and if you don't catch it, it just falls on the floor, and you've got to go and retrieve it. And the whole game is full of these brilliant little things. Like if you take a hit, you will drop your melee weapon, whether that is the spear that one of the Predators got or the katana that the girls got. You drop it and you have to go and pick it up, and there's a lot of depth to what is ostensibly a very simple game format, the beat 'em up. So I can see 100% why you would say this is one of the better ones. There was a game that followed it the same year called Armored Warriors. Mm-hmm. Have you ever played Armored Warriors?
I know the name. I've probably played it.
I think, for me, Armored Warriors might be the best game of its type.
Really?
It's Capcom again, and it's very much of a similar vein. There, you have weapons of two different types, and I think it's kind of an iteration on what Alien vs Predator started to do with the whole blurring the lines between ranged combat and close-up combat. And I think it probably does it a little bit better. But what it also does, which you said Alien vs Predator doesn't, and you're absolutely right, is it does feel slow. You're in these massive walker things, and almost like the power lifters from Alien.
Yeah.
And so they don't move quickly, and so you've got to find a way around that. So yeah, I have no argument. You say to me that you think Alien vs Predator is the best game of its type, I can't argue with that. There is no reasonable way I can say you are wrong. You know what I mean? As much as the popular consensus might be that I think Streets of Rage 3 is generally considered the best brawler ever made. I mean, I disagree personally from my taste, but also you say it's Alien versus Predator, and I go, do you know what? Good point. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no argument.
It's a game type that I've played a lot of. There are some really, really good examples of this because it made for a very easy arcade game to make, from what I can gather. I think we may have mentioned it before, and it's one of the standout weird games that we found on MAME. Ninja Baseball Batman.
Yes.
It's just such an odd thing. It's very odd baseball themed brawler.
Yes.
To this day I don't know why that exists or who even made it. But it's brilliant. It does its own thing. It does exactly the same as every other brawler that's ever come out, but it wraps it up in this glorious cartoony baseball themed skin that's very, very odd. But yeah, I genuinely do think the Aliens vs Predator brawler is the best example of that type of game. Take away the nostalgia, the love that I have for both franchises. Yeah. I think it's more playable, it's more replayable, because you'll play it through with a different character and it'll be, like you say, a completely different game.
Yeah.
You know, I played through as the Schaefer character recently for the first time ever, because I always choose the Predator. And it was very different, very odd, very good, but good in a different way.
Yeah. I would say it's as different as playing Street Fighter 2 as different characters. So it's like of the four characters, playing as the Predator warrior, he's got a throw, he's got a pile driver throw that he does, that Predator warrior. So you think of the heavier characters in Street Fighter, and then all the way down to the other side, Linker are probably more Cammy than Chun-Li, I would say. And like if you can think, when you play those games, those Street Fighter games, how differently you have to play them from playing as Zangief to playing as Cammy and a couple of points in between. It really is that different to play the game. You cannot go into it playing it the same way if you've chosen a different character. Yeah. There was always a gimmick, wasn't it? I think I mentioned that when we were at the Retro Computer Museum last time, I set up one of the main cabinets, to have 64th Street, a detective story on it, which is a brilliant brawler whose main gimmick, because so we've got a brawler. What's the gimmick? The gimmick is you're Captain Commando. There's a game that you love. Mm-hmm. But 64th Street's main gimmick is, visually it's like a 1940s style gangster thing. But you've always got a move, no matter what the level setup is, of throwing a character into the background. In the first level, you throw them into windows because you're in a street, so you throw them into windows, and then the next level you're on a dock, so you literally throw them into the water. So that's its gimmick, but it really affects the way you play. It's not talked before again about how a gimmick isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
and that's Alien versus Predator. It's kind of its pitch. It's the whole concept of it being Alien versus Predator is its gimmick. When you play it, it's just a brilliantly made game. It's just perfectly pitched. There's even a bit in it that's a bit like those Street Fighter beat up the car levels, isn't there? In the lift. Sorry, spoilers if you've not played it. There's a bit where you get in a lift and you have to beat up the power core to stop it smashing into the ceiling. And it's just got all these great ideas, and there's a couple of levels where you're riding on top and brilliantly, again, taking that fantastic design from Aliens of the armored personnel character and putting that into the game and rendering it beautifully and making it the focus of a level in a game. And it's almost pointless. The level is so...
It's a loading screen game,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's this little interval between levels where there's not a lot really to do here. Let's give you infinite ranged ammo and just fill a screen with shit, and you can just shoot it as much as you can.
Absolutely. It's easy, it's fun, it's brilliant, it looks fantastic.
Have you ever seen what vehicle that APC was based on?
Was it the Tesla Cybertruck?
No, it's far more robust than that. No, it's what they use in airports as like a truck for aircraft.
Of course. Yeah.
That's why it's so low. It's very low and very flat because it basically acts as like a steering mechanism for planes. So they basically took that and dressed it up a bit.
I mentioned earlier the game Aliens, which...
Yes.
I mean, I haven't really looked into that. I played it, but...
I know nothing outside of having played it. I found it in about 1992 in an arcade in Great Yarmouth. So in the era when most arcade games were starting to move towards 50p a credit.
Yeah.
Me and my mate Barry basically went on a road trip down to Great Yarmouth to go and play in the arcades. It's a weird thing to say, but whatever. That's what we did.
I know. I remember doing very similar things.
And we found the Aliens arcade game, which neither of us had ever seen before, and it was 10p a credit.
Fucking hell.
Literally chucked in a quid and finished it. It was fucking brilliant. I'd never seen it before, and I don't think I've ever seen it since in an arcade. I've obviously played it on MAME and know of it a lot since then. But it's a similar story to how we found Alien vs. Predator. Just went into an old arcade, basically that was probably months away from closing down, judging by the amount of people that were there, and found this amazing game that none of us had played before.
And again, as far as I know, never got like a port. Got. There were various versions of Aliens, obviously, on everything, but that game, as it was, with its purple aliens and all the mad shit going on, existed entirely in the arcades. And in 1990, I think that was a great looking and a technically advanced game, because it had moments where you're shooting into the screen as well as the side-scrolling shoot 'em up stuff. It's very run and gun. It's not a brawler. It's very run and gun focused.
Well, it's sort of a brawler, and it's got the sort of two-dimensional moving left to right thing, but with a three-dimensional element to the play area.
Yeah,
which is how I always define those games. In my mind, that's a brawler, a game where you have a left to right movement predominantly, with some depth to it. I think the Turtles arcade game is the perfect example of it.
Yeah, and run and gun games tend to be very much on the one plane, don't they?
Yeah, it's very much a shooter. So you only shoot guns. You only fire a gun. And there's quite specifically, and it could only really work in an Aliens game, you have two buttons. One is a standing shot, and the other is a crouch shot, which is obviously for taking out eggs and face huggers.
Yeah.
No other game needs that. Every every other game of that type, you have one enemy height. They're all humanoids or the same sort of height as you are, and that's it across the board.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this game came out before Alien 3, so it's very much Alien. And you were right. You mentioned you play as Eleanor or Hicks.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a great game, and I think for a game from 1990, looks and plays fantastically well. There were lots of games from that era that don't play anywhere near as well as this does. But yeah, AVP feels to me more like, if someone said to me that it was a sequel to Aliens from 1990, you just go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what it is.
I think the AVP game is an amalgam of everything that's out at that point. So they've looked at that Aliens game. They've looked at the last good Aliens game. They've looked at the characters that exist in the comics. The female character in it is very similar, but not the same person as the woman from Alien vs. Predator. The male human character is probably a descendant of Schaefer from the Predator, or Dutch from the Predator film. The Predators are just the Predators.
Yeah, I mean, we're not into lore and stories and all that sort of shit, but as much as it visually makes sense, when you look at it, you can see that lineage. Apparently, both of those characters in Alien vs. Predator are cyborgs. So why is one of them called Schaefer? And even D. Schaefer, which is Dutch Schaefer, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger from the films. Let's go negative. You played through the game recently, Alien vs. Predator. What's your least favourite bit about it?
Nothing stands out as something I hate. I didn't come away from it thinking I really hated that bit. I can't think of any instances where I didn't enjoy it. The bit on top of the APC is a bit iffy. It feels a bit pointless.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of cool, but it's kind of also, well, that was a complete waste of my time.
Yeah. To move the plot on, we've got to move them to a new area. Let's do something as a fill-in level.
Again, it's nice that they did that and not just, fade to black and then we walked here. There's 2 points of it that I genuinely didn't like the first fight against the Alien Queen.
Okay.
Because you're you were just talking about how you have a range of motion, and in that first fight you don't. It takes it away. You can only move left and right. It takes it away. And I didn't enjoy that at all. I thought that was really weird that they chose to do that, and it almost felt like. We were talking to Rico about decisions that are made in games to make them harder, and it almost felt like that had happened. He talked very briefly in our interview about the last jump in Super Frog that was 3 screens and you had to be pixel perfect to do it. And this almost artificial difficulty, and I think, to me, I loved it so much that there were 2 things in it that stick out to me as that I didn't enjoy, which is a shame. But also, you should take that, our listeners should take this as a recommendation, that these 2 tiny things, the first fight against the Queen, which is where she's a sub-boss, you fight her again and it's much, much better, is not great. But also, as a fan of the Predator concept from the original film and how it was realised in that, and the better comics from back in the day, it really pissed me off how chatty they are in this game.
I hadn't even considered that. Yes, that is shite.
They're just talking. They're just chatting away. Chatting away in English. There's not.
Come with us if you want to live.
Yeah, they're not talking in like regurgitated captures like they do in the first film, or I think in any of the films for that matter. I think even in the worst films, they never just openly speak. They're literally chatting away in English. It's funny. It's funny because of how weird it is for the characters to be doing that. But I wish they didn't. But it's just...
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, actually. I don't care.
No. I say chatting. It's all in text on screen. There's no speech or anything. It's
Didn't find it change my enjoyment of the game at all.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. But just as I say, I was kind of obsessed with Predator back in the day. Really was. I absolutely loved it. I think it was probably the first film of its type that I had ever seen. I mean, when did that film come out? 87, I think, Predator, isn't it?
Yep.
So
87.
I've been 12, and that is the age to get obsessed with things, isn't it? 12 is that age.
Well, you wouldn't have seen it for a few years because you'd have seen it on video.
And I would have seen it on pirate video, so I wouldn't have even rented it. So, but yeah, I was obsessed with it, and I still think it is such a tightly made film. I think it is brilliantly put together. There is not a wasted moment in the entire thing. I think it's about 145 minutes, if it's that long. And there is not a wasted second from start to finish. Brilliantly made. And I was obsessed with the idea of it. I was obsessed with the design of it. I think in particular the mask of the Predator and all that sort of thing. And just that whole, even the tiny little details from that film, like the countdown on the bottom of his arm. These are just shapes, but you know what it is. When it starts to go down, you can hear it. It's John McTiernan, this guy who made Die Hard, and he's not fucking around. I genuinely believe it is a brilliant film, and I just got obsessed with it. And then I say the first comic I picked up was on that, and the first Alien vs Predator is a great comic book, and that just fueled my obsession with it. And then sadly, it started to go downhill from there. I've got nothing against Danny Glover, but Predator 2 is not as good.
I watched it about a week ago. I haven't seen it for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's not great. I mean, as much as it was made in 1990, it's very much an 80s film. But it has got some great moments in it.
When did it come out?
Late 1990.
How common was it to have a black lead in an action film in that era?
Not overly common, but Danny Glover had already been in Lethal Weapon.
Well, the first one.
Which was massive.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Were they not about the same time?
87.
Wow.
In fact, Lethal Weapon 2 may have come out. Yeah, Lethal Weapon 2 was 89. So it'd already done a few. Well, a couple.
Well, I think Lethal Weapon 2, if Lethal Weapon was about Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon 2 was much more about Danny Glover. The characters. It's about his family and, the whole...
Riggs and Murtaugh.
Murtaugh, that's it, yeah. So it was much more about Murtaugh and the whole thing with the bad guy being a white South African and all that sort of thing. Lethal Weapon 2 was much more about Murtaugh than Lethal Weapon, the first one was.
Yeah.
So that's crazy that both of those had come out before Predator 2.
I think it's a good choice. Having watched Predator 2 again recently, I thought it was a great choice for the role. Because you take the first film, you've got this elite army squad versus the Predator, and they all get horribly, brutally murdered.
Yes.
Apart from, plot armor Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously. But having watched that first film and going into the second film and seeing Danny Glover, who is clearly too old for this shit, going up against a Predator. It's just like, wait, what? No, this isn't going to work. But Predator 2, when it starts, it's similar in a way to RoboCop in that it's set a few years in the future.
Yeah.
It comes up at the start. Los Angeles, 1997. So it was made in 1990. So the idea is that, the drug gangs and the street crime and the violence has just spiraled out of control in just 7 years, which wasn't too far from the truth, to be honest.
But that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because I think in the world we live in today, 7 years doesn't feel like a very long time. And I don't think that's old person speaking, because everybody knows that as you get older, years get shorter. But I think now, you say 7 years, and it doesn't feel like a long time at all.
No.
But in 1990, 7 years, you could imagine that happening. You could imagine the world changing to that extent in 7 years that you couldn't now. From the 80s to the 90s, it felt like things had changed that quickly. So you could see them changing that quickly again.
They had changed massively.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You look at the start of the 80s, the late 70s, early 80s, looks like 50s to us now.
Yeah.
But then you start to get towards, the technological advances through the 80s, computerization, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The 80s were the most transformative decade in the history of man.
I'm a huge fan of particularly weirdly the concept of the Predator, and it is very much the concept, because I think the first film is great and there are comics that are great and this game is great, but amongst all that there's some utter shit as well, and I think the same is true of Aliens.
There is a vast gulf between the best and the worst things about both creatures. The good stuff with the Predator in it is really good. The bad stuff with the Predator in it is really bad.
Yeah.
And the same is true of Aliens.
Again, you've put that very succinctly, because there is so much stuff, but weirdly, I think, for me at least, among the best of them, and it might be, I've not read it for a very, very long time, but the Aliens vs Predator comic series started in Dark Horse. I think like 94, about the time this game was coming out, maybe a little bit before, 91.
90. Aliens vs Predator, the comic, came out before Predator 2. That comic is the first instance of the crossover of the two franchises, because Predator 2 quite famously has a scene at the end where he's in the Predator ship.
Yes.
And there's an alien skull in the trophy room.
Yeah.
So apparently the original idea came from someone at Dark Horse Comics during a meeting discussing what they could come up with. And they were looking to pitch a crossover with a DC character with the Predator.
Okay.
And somebody said, well, look, we've got the Aliens rights, we've got the franchise from Fox for that, and we've got the Predator one. Let's just do them, because then we don't have to dick around with another company. Interestingly enough, they did go on to make Batman versus Predator 3 times, Wolverine versus Predator.
When there were, I'm going to see everything. I mean, the Dark Horse, unfortunately, sort of became a bit of a shit show, and they had a franchise, they would cross it over and just try and make money out of it. Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, Batman vs Predator is actually very, very good. The two, Batman vs Predator 2 and 3, are awful.
I've only ever seen the first one.
And it's a beautifully drawn, I forget who the artist is, Adam somebody, just really, really great art, very much leans on the Batman side of things, as it should. I think in something like that when you think about the framing of the original Predator film, the Predator is in the background, literally and figuratively quite a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. In the case of Batman vs Predator, there's a whole other story going on with just the Predator coming into it, and I genuinely think that Batman vs Predator is a very, very good comic book story, and I do think you have to frame it as a comic book story, because comic book stories work differently to other stories, and as if you've ever seen a film adaptation that has tried to mimic the comic book, you'll know how it doesn't work. If you were to take that exact script and those exact things that are being said in a comic book page and put them into people's mouths to say out loud, it doesn't work. It sounds horrible, but when you read it on a page, it works.
There is one exception to that. Sin City. I thought the film of Sin City was brilliant.
It was a brilliant recreation of the comics, but the comics themselves are kind of a bit of an adolescent wank fantasy, and the film was a bit of an adolescent wank fantasy.
Are not all comics adolescent wank fantasies? There's a great line in Chasing Amy where Jason Lee's character is talking about, was it Ben Affleck's? One of the characters anyway is talking about the audience for their comic. It's over and underweight guys who don't get laid. They're our bread and butter. It's the comic book industry in a nutshell.
If you like comics, Dave, he's not trying to offend you. We were both there. We did it. I mean, I say Aliens vs Predator. I bought we called them graphic novels, but they're the trade paperbacks. Was the second comic I ever bought. There was 2 comic shops in Bedford, wasn't there? There was one up the top of the High Street,
Outer Limits,
and then there was the one round in the little courtyard.
Comics Unlimited
in Clare Court. There you go. Dave knows. We were there.
I shoplifted from both of them, and worked in one of them. So
Outer Limits was where I was introduced to Akira. I never knew it was just a thing that I became like obsessed with. I mean, and to this day love it, to the extent that I spent far too much money on the awful Amiga game fairly recently. And it is a brilliant, brilliant film, Akira. It really is. It genuinely is a fantastic piece of science fiction, and for all of the associated shitness that came after it, it remains a fantastic film. In Outer Limits, that was the first time I ever came across that, and I bought my first comic, which was Double Dragon, the 6-part limited series Double Dragon, which when I finally got around to selling my comic collection that I've rarely looked at, probably about 5 years ago now, I kept because they were worth so little money. The nostalgia to me was worth more than I could get for them on eBay.
That's how I think about everything I own. Yeah.
A terrible, terrible series of comics. Really bad. Really, really bad. Double Dragon, for fuck's sake. Of course I'm going to buy it. But yeah, I bought that in Outer Limit. I think my comic book shop allegiance is shifted to Comics Unlimited.
Well, it didn't shift. Outer Limit shut down.
Okay, there we go. That's why it shifted. But yeah, when I switched to Comics Unlimited, that's when I properly got into comics and I started to pick up indie stuff. I really got into independent comics, and that probably was fueled by the fact that I picked up Aliens vs. Predator trade paperback and then learnt that it had come out before that as part the prologue thing that's in it came out in installments in a smaller comic, and that got me into Dark Horse, who at the time were a very indie comic publisher. They were one of the smaller comics, and they made very interesting different comics. Yeah, stuff like the Eyeball Kid and all this madness. And that's what got me into comics properly, was learning that it wasn't all cape shit. That's what they call it. It's not all cape shit, because until then I thought it was all cape shit. And I didn't even like comics when I was going into comic shops, and then I was made aware of Dark Horse and everything they represented because of Predator and Alien vs. Predator. There is a series that's just called Predator as well, which isn't an adaptation of the film, it's its own story.
It's a pseudo-sequel.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, yeah.
If they had never made Predator 2 as a film, that served as the sequel. Aliens has had a similar thing. Before Alien 3 came out, there was an Alien graphic novel called Aliens Book 1.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an alternative sequel to Aliens, where Newt grows up and becomes like an alien hunter. It's really, really good, actually. It's well worth a read if you're into your comics.
Which is better than her just dying in between sequels.
Yeah.
I mean, David Fincher, I love some of the stuff he's done since, but for fuck's sake. And I know the studio got too involved, but there's some of those decisions that weren't forced by the studio. I mean, I guess it wasn't his script either, was it? Let's not blame it all on David Fincher.
I also don't hate Alien 3.
I've
got a lot of time for Alien 3. No, I think there's a lot going on in that film that people just ignore. There's some really good stuff in there.
I've never seen it in one stint from start to finish.
Really?
Yeah, I the first time I watched it, I stopped. And then I remember sort of turning on TV and it being on. So basically, I have seen the whole film from start to finish, but not in one go. And I don't love it. And there is something you hate about the Aliens franchise and the Alien vs. Predator franchise that exists because of Alien 3. Or, as we should call it, Alien Cubed. And what is that, Dave?
This is the idea that the alien changes its physiology based on the animal it gestates in.
Yeah.
Which is fucking stupid. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking stupid. And I hate it. I absolutely despise it. Basically, what we're building towards here is the abomination that is the Predalien, which is the most hackneyed, crowbarred together word I've ever heard in my life, and I fucking hate it. I absolutely despise it.
It is, and again, I think it really sums up what you were saying before about how the gulf between the best of these universes, to use the word you didn't want to, and the worst is so vast, isn't it? Aliens vs. Predator, the comic from 1990, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the better things to come out of. I mean, certainly the universes combined, but even when you think about it, probably in isolation, Ivy Universe, and yet the Aliens vs. Predator films are among the worst. And I think perhaps the Aliens vs. Predator sequel is possibly the low point of the entire thing.
It's the fulcrum. It's the meeting point of the awfulness of both franchises. Apparently, there was a script that did the rounds in Hollywood based on the original comic that never really got picked up, which would have made for a much, much better film.
Yes.
But elements of that story are in that film. So the whole thing of marking her head with the alien's finger, the blood, making a shield out of the alien head and a spear out of its tail are in that film. Because for some unknown reason, I watched it again recently. I sort of went through a thing of watching all the Alien films: Alien Earth, Predator, Predator 2, Aliens vs Predator, Predators, which I do like. I genuinely enjoy that film. I did stop short of AVP Requiem because I watched it once and I will never watch it again.
Did you watch Prey?
I did watch Prey. I really enjoyed Prey. I was really annoyed by Prey for one massive reason. Part of its big thing was that it's the first film ever to be recorded in the Comanche language.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought, that's fantastic. That's exactly how that sort of film should be done.
Yeah.
It's only available as an optional language, and it's clearly dubbed over the original film.
Well, that's wank, isn't it?
So it wasn't shot in it. It was shot in fucking English.
Yeah.
And then dubbed with Comanche, which really pissed me off because I thought, that's excellent. That's exactly how that should be done.
One of my favourite websites, Hardcore Gaming 101, HG 101, I think is probably the website. Their review of Alien vs Predator, the game that we are ostensibly talking about, and this is probably the second time we've mentioned it so far, says that this game was based on that same script that you were talking about. I don't know. I've not been able to find whether that is true or not, but I can certainly understand how that would happen. Let's do a bit on other Aliens and or Predator games and or Aliens versus Predator games that you've played and enjoyed or otherwise.
How long have we got?
As long as you want, Dave.
Because this section could last several years.
When I say that, what's the first game that jumps into your mind?
I will have to go for, there's two. There's Aliens vs Predator and Aliens vs Predator 2 that came out on PC only, as far as I'm aware. First-person shooters, and they're very, very good. Made by a company called Rebellion, who made some excellent FPSs. And they came out, the first one came out in 1999, and the second one came out in about, I think, 2001, 2002. And it's right around when I got my first proper PC. So I bought the first one, being a fan of Aliens, being a fan of Predator. I bought the first one, and I thought, this is fucking brilliant. It's 3 games in one, is the only way I can describe it. You play through a single-player campaign as the Predator, the Alien, and humans.
Can I just stop you there? I'm sorry, I was distracted. I am the proud owner of a not working Capcom home arcade for £105.
You have a problem.
I do. I really do. I have issues.
So yeah, Aliens vs Predator on the PC.
Yeah.
3 separate campaigns played through as each race.
Yes.
And they are really, really good. The Predator one is all about staying hidden, using the various vision modes to spot humans using thermal, and then the aliens using another spectrum. The Alien, you go through the life cycle. You start as a facehugger. You have to find somebody isolated to impregnate. Then the next section is bursting out of their chest and running around eating like insects and small animals and shit to grow. Then you become the thing. But once you are the fully grown alien, you run around every surface you can move on. You can run up walls, on ceilings. It gets very, very fast and frantic. Really, really good. And then the Predator just does, everything that Predator has. All the toys, all the tricks, all the can jump, can spear people, can shoot people from a mile away over the plasma thing. And that's really good. And the second one's brilliant as well. Really, really well made. And that was it. They did these games. They were really, really good, really, really popular. And they just sort of stopped. Whether it was a licensing thing, they had the thing to make 2 games and that was it. Job done. I don't know. But then there came another Aliens vs Predator game from about, I think it's 2010. Which I played at the time when it first came out, and I hated it. Installed it, started playing it, played as the Predator, because that's the race that I wanted to play as.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking awful. Like, the tutorial level of it made me quit the game and never go back to it.
It's famously bad.
There's this bullshit rock, paper, scissors thing with melee combat with the claws.
Yeah.
And apparently once you get past the early part of the game where that's all you've got, it does get better, but that early part is so bad, it put me off playing the whole game. But I've since watched a video today, and apparently the Marines campaign is brilliant and well worth playing. And the Aliens one isn't bad as well, but very, very short. Which I'm okay with, because there's not much story you can get out of an Aliens campaign.
No, I get, yeah.
But the early 2000s Aliens vs. Predator, I think in fact, it is the second one. The first 20 minutes or so of the Marines campaign, there are no enemies at all. It's all just scene setting. You land on this planet, you have to get your way into a colony. If you're looking in just the right direction, just the right time, a predator ship flies over the top of your head, completely silent.
Right.
You can miss it very, very easily.
Huh.
But there's a bit where you start getting into this colony and you've got your motion tracker and it tracks movement. There's a bit where a ceiling collapses just in front of you. And it's this pipe and a bit of chain that looks exactly like an alien. So you shoot it like a twat. Because it sets off your motion detector, it jumps out, and you just, it's an alien, it's the first one. It's not. Nothing happens for like another 5 minutes. But it's brilliant. There's more atmosphere in those 10, 15 minutes of nothing than there is in, I don't know, an entire film. It's really good.
That sounds to me like I remember being too scared to watch Aliens.
Really?
Having started watching it, you think 86, I was 11, 12 at most. And I remember starting to watch it and being too scared to watch it because not the special edition. The special edition is an abomination as far as I'm concerned.
Didn't exist.
No, but if your first experience of Aliens is a special edition, then you've missed out, because what you're talking about with that whole you don't know what's going on and that whole building the atmosphere thing, when you watch Aliens, the original version, for the first time, that's what it does. Whereas the special edition shows you what's happened. The original cut of Aliens, they turn up on the planet and you don't know what's happened. I can guarantee almost 100% that nobody listening to us talking right now has not seen Aliens. If by some miracle that person exists, stop listening to us, go and watch Alien and then Aliens, but do not watch the special edition, because when you watch the original cut of Aliens for the first time, you do not know what is going on. You don't understand it. It's tense, there's darkness, there's that whole thing of not knowing, which is what creates horror and fear and all that sort of thing, exists in the original cut of Aliens exactly until the first alien shows up, and then it all goes away and it turns into a sci-fi film.
Oh, it turns into a Vietnam film.
Yes.
The line that really keys into what you were just saying is, whatever happened here, we missed it.
Yeah. If you watch the special edition first, you didn't miss it. You were shown it because it's the first part of the film. Those PC games you were talking about.
Yes.
Who made them?
Rebellion.
Do you know what year?
99 for the first one, I think 2001 for the second one.
In 1994, there was an Aliens versus Predator game, or an Alien, I should say, versus Predator game for the Atari Jaguar.
There was also, before that, in 1993, a SNES game.
The SNES game's shit.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the SNES game.
I'd never seen it before today.
Oh, it's rubbish. It's very clearly inspired by the arcade game, but not good.
Came out before it.
No.
Yep, 93. The arcade game came out in 94.
Shit.
If anything, that's the influence for the arcade game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they smacked that out of the park, didn't they? Because it's not good. That SNES game is genuinely not good.
I watched a video of somebody playing it. I've got it. I'm not going to play it.
No, don't. It's really bad. And the annoying thing is, like, on the surface, it looks quite similar, but then you play it and it just falls to pieces. But coming back to the Atari Jaguar, almost, I guess, preempting next season, where I'll be mentioning the Atari Jaguar every episode if I get in my way.
Oh, no.
So in 1994, the Atari Jaguar Alien vs Predator came out, and the developer was Rebellion Development.
There we go.
And in this game, you played as any of the 3 races, and they all played very differently. Very much. If like Dave and like I think most people, if you played those turn of the century games on PC and loved them, they are well loved, those 2 games. You owe the Atari Jaguar a debt of thanks, because that's where that game originated. And this isn't hyperbole, this isn't me bigging up. The Atari Corporation is long dead and gone, but I do love the Atari Jaguar, and it's I think Alien vs Predator is the best game on the Atari Jaguar, and it is well worth seeking out. It plays brilliantly to this day. It is clunky. It is kind of that whole 3D world with sprites in it kind of look that I kind of love, but I can understand how people would think it's quite dated and horrible, but I kind of love it. But it's very much the blueprint of those turn of the century games. Though you can play it in 3 different ways: the alien, the predator, and the human beings, and it's brilliant. Genuinely brilliant. It's a long way ahead of its time for that sort of a thing to exist in 1994. When you think Wolfenstein, which was really the first type of game like Doom, Doom was 93, Wolfenstein was 92, well, this was 94. It's a very quick evolution from you are moving around to you are now, you've got a choice of 3 different ways of moving around and attacking and doing everything. I mean, I reckon to buy a Jaguar, buy a CRT TV, and buy Alien vs Predator would probably cost you in the region of £300 to £400. Is it worth it?
No, it is not worth it.
I think it might be.
No. You can watch someone play that game on YouTube for free.
The best games cannot be experienced by watching somebody else play them.
True, but is that one of the best games?
It is 100% one of the best games of its time.
Oh, it's the best game on the Jaguar, because there's only 7 of them. And the other 6 are shit.
Shut up. No.
Stop me when I'm wrong.
I'll stop you because you're wrong.
One last thing I really wanted to say. I don't know how to wrap it up. I suppose the sort of chapter heading would be nomenclature, which is a lovely word. One of the things that's always really bugged me about the aliens is why people call them xenomorphs.
Yes, where did that come from?
Comes from Aliens.
Does it?
Yeah, they're having the briefing and they say, is this going to be a stand-up fight or just another bug hunt? And Lieutenant Gorman says, yeah, a xenomorph may be involved, which is another way of saying an alien life form.
Yeah.
You're calling it a xenomorph, you're calling it an alien. It's just fucking alien. It's always just been alien. Just leave it as alien. The xenomorph thing pisses me off and always has. But it gets worse. Have you ever heard what the name given to the predator race is?
Oh, don't. This winds me the fuck up. This is when you talk about earlier about the extended shit that fucks everything up. And
yeah.
This is it in a nutshell. I mean, why and how? Why and how?
Well, I can tell you both of those
on.
things. So the why and the how in equal measure is the name for the predator race comes from the novelization of that awesome first Alien vs Predator comic.
The novelization? It's
a book I have somewhere. I'm sure I've still got it, but I remember buying this. It's awful. Basically, a film comes out like Aliens, and then some hack who can't write their own book gets given the job to write a book based on that. And they have to flesh it out. Because if you take the average film script and turn it into a book, you've got about, 90 pages or so, which is not enough. So you have to flesh it out with bollocks. And one of the elements of bollocks that got added to the novelization of the Alien vs Predator comic was not only names for individual predators, which is just made up shit, but the name of the race, which is an unpronounceable set of letters that might be Yautja.
Yautja?
Fucking hate it. I've always hated it. It's stupid. It should not exist. Don't give them a name. They don't need a name. But the alien doesn't need a name. It's not a xenomorph, because a xenomorph is an alien life form. You're just calling an alien in a different way. It's just the fucking alien. The alien. You know, nobody's ever felt the need to go back and rename the Thing to something else, have they?
Well, I bet they have, because there are Thing comics as well. I bet somebody has, yeah.
But that is it's just an animal. It's literally just an animal. It doesn't have a name, because it wouldn't give itself a name. A ladybird doesn't call itself a ladybird, does it?
Dave,
what?
When you go off on these moments where you get very upset about stuff like this, I tend to basically go, I'm not really bothered.
Switch off.
On this occasion, you could not be more right. Nothing is gained from giving the predator race a name. Nothing is gained from giving the individual predators names. Nothing is gained from calling aliens xenomorphs like it means something other than alien. Nothing is gained. It's just nonsense, bullshit, crappy, bad writing. And there is no time in all of human history where the word novelization has been followed by the words must read. Ever. It doesn't exist. This is shit. This is terrible. If you're listening to us and you have read a novelization and enjoyed it, fuck off. Just go away. I don't want you listening to this podcast. You have got terrible, terrible taste. Go away. I'm going to shake a cocktail now. It's going to be noisy. I did move it away from the mic, so it might be okay.
Yeah, you moved it an inch to the left.
This is your cocktail that you haven't even told us about yet. I'm drinking or making.
No.
So we should probably. I mean, I drank a cocktail live a couple of episodes ago. Was it the last episode? I can't remember.
It was the Riley.
Of course it was. And so this is I've made and I'm now about to drink a cocktail live, but it's not mine. So tell us about your cocktail for today, Dave, while I drink it.
So in honor of the metaphor that got applied to the aliens, where they basically likened them to ants or bees with a single queen, which is actually the greatest plot point of Aliens.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing that Aliens brought to the party that Alien hadn't already done. The concept of the queen, the concept of the collective, group of these things. So to celebrate that, I've gone for a cocktail called The Hive, which is a cocktail from Difford's. It's 2 bar spoons of honey, 30 millilitres of vodka, 30 millilitres of spiced honey liqueur, and 60 millilitres of pink grapefruit juice. It was apparently discovered, good use of that word, in 2004 at Circus, London, England. That's it. No comments, no more history than that. So you stir the honey with vodka until the honey dissolves, add the other ingredients, shake with ice and fine strain into a chilled glass. Andy is currently making this and is going to tell you what it tastes like.
I'm drinking it as we speak. So I have made this. I don't have a spiced honey liqueur, but I do have spiced honey rum from a fantastic company called Hive Mind. If you're in the UK, I really recommend you look up Hive Mind. They make all sorts of honey type stuff. They make honey cans of drink, but they make honey rum, and it's very much on the ethical side of honey production. They're a very cool company. I like them a lot. So I picked up a bottle of their spiced honey rum. So I've used that in place of the honey liqueur, which I think is probably a good match, because the honey liqueur that's mentioned on Difford's is 40% ABV, and this is 37.5. So I think it's probably a good match. And I tell you what, it's bloody lovely. It's a really
I thought you'd
nice
like that.
drink.
I thought you'd like this.
no surprise to anybody listening that I do love a bit of grapefruit juice, but that sort of honey, the smell's amazing. You really, I don't know why, I don't know how. Mixology is one of those things that I've got a lot of interest in, but I don't really understand. But you smell it, and all the sort of the spice side of the rum in this case is what you get when you smell it, but you taste it, and it's basically. Well, it's just fucking delicious. It's really nice. It's like grapefruit juice sweetened a bit by the honey, but with that little bit of spiced note, that kind of when drinks say spice, they're kind of leaning sort of cinnamony, nutmeggy side of spice. And
yeah, it's always cinnamon, isn't it?
Yeah. Really, really good. I thoroughly recommend that. It's really nice. The 2 bar spoons of honey, I'm not sure I'd notice if it wasn't there, because a bar spoon tends to be a sort of smaller than a teaspoon because they're very flat. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could leave that off and not notice very much. But the rest of it, I mean, the vodka's in there making it nice and boozy. It's lovely. Really nice. If I wasn't already pissed, I'd get merrily pissed on those. Really nice drink. Yeah, really like that at all. And I'm with you. I think in Alien that they're kind of in the first film Alien, that where the egg comes from and that part of the whole life cycle thing doesn't really get explained, does it? And I think in retrospect, looking back at Alien, I think it gets a bit cheesy towards the end. I think it doesn't really hold up to modern standards. The whole concept of a woman who's lost a child for all intents and purposes, finding another child and then defending that child against an evil female character. It's not deep writing, is it? It's a bit, I mean, basically it's a bit James Cameron. It's what it is. But I love that it's become this part of popular culture that can't be ignored. The whole thing is just great. Like this drink. It's better than the drink I come up with.
Sold on that one then.
Yeah, absolutely. I found a drink called The Hunter.
Ah, nice. I like it.
Obviously, with my love of the Predator, I had to go down that angle. Hunter is one of those weird ones where it's got the word cocktail in its name, so it's the Hunter cocktail specifically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Rather than just the Hunter, and it one of the which I think tends to happen with very old cocktails, quite classic along those vibes. Very straightforward, very much along it's a very bourbon. I made one earlier at bourbon. Not bourbon. Bourbon's a biscuit. Bourbon's a drink. 45ml of bourbon, 20ml of cherry hearing, which is a cherry liqueur, and 2.5ml of Luxardo maraschino liqueur, which is a ridiculously small amount. So I literally didn't bother. And I also, with the hearing cherry liqueur, I made my own cherry liqueur earlier in the year using cherries from the tree in my front garden. And various, I think I basically rounded up the dregs of as many clear spirits as I could find. I think there was a bit of vodka, a bit of white rum, and there may have even been a bit of tequila in there. And just sort of, when you're making a liqueur, it doesn't really matter. And especially when it turns out as delicious as this one did, because it really is very good. My own brand cherry liqueur came out great. I've got about 750ml of it, so I'm going to have to make a lot of drinks to get through that. But anyway, round it up, call it half a shot of cherry liqueur of whatever type you like, and a couple of dashes of orange bitters. Bung it in a like an old-fashioned style glass, a tumbler basically, and it's a stir it over the ice, and then have a huge chunk of ice in the glass and drink it. So it's one of them. It's kind of in that sort of old-fashioned vein of drink. It's really, really nice. To me, the main flavour was the bourbon with the cherry taking the edge off, but that may be because my bourbon's a bit shit. I think maybe if you had a better bourbon, it would be more on the cherry liqueur on the sweeter side. But I think if you made this with Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or something and some cherry liqueur, so it's a nice, it's a very easy cocktail. It's basically a shot of bourbon and half a shot of cherry liqueur and a couple of dashes of orange bitters, and you can pick up. Orange bitters, I think, is probably the second most easily available type of bitters after your standard Angostura. It's really nice drink. It's one of those cigar in an armchair watching play of the day on BBC Two kind of drinks.
Or watching Alien vs Predator Requiem.
No, nobody should ever watch Aliens vs Predator. Do you know what happened when I went downstairs to get the ingredients to make this drink that you have made, which is fucking lovely? On the way downstairs, I trod in cat sick in bare feet. Yeah.
Lovely.
I would rather do that again than watch Aliens vs Predator Requiem. Here endeth the lesson.
Lovely.
And that'll just about do it for this episode of Cocktail Mode. Next time out, we're going to be tying into the release of the new Running Man movie by taking a look back at Smash TV, a game that at this point I've never played and I know is beloved by a lot of people. So I hope you join us for that next time on Cocktail Mode, the podcast where gaming and alcohol are in our blood.